Nobody in that Arizona truck stop expected to cry that Thursday afternoon. Least of all Marcus Blade Sullivan, the 6'4" president of the Desert Riders Motorcycle Club, whose reputation for toughness preceded him into every room he entered. But sometimes life has a way of cracking open even the hardest shells, revealing the soft humanity we all carry inside. It started as an ordinary ride. 13 bikers heading east from Phoenix toward New Mexico, their annual run to raise money for veterans' charities. They'd been on the road since dawn, and the midday sun had turned the asphalt into a shimmering river of heat. When Marcus spotted the faded sign for Earl's Stop and Shop, he signaled the group to pull over. The bikes roared into the dusty parking lot in formation, their chrome gleaming despite the desert grime. Inside, the air conditioning was broken, and the tired clerk behind the counter barely looked up as the bikers filed in, grabbing bottles of water and energy drinks. That's when Marcus noticed them, 2 kids standing in the dairy aisle, whispering urgently to each other. The boy, maybe 9 years old, wore jeans with holes in the knees that looked like they came from wear, not fashion. His sister, younger by a couple of years, had her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail secured with a rubber band. They were staring at the milk with an intensity that seemed out of place for children their age. Marcus watched as the boy carefully lifted a gallon from the shelf, checked the price, then put it back and picked up a half-gallon instead. The girl shook her head and pointed to the full gallon. They argued in hushed tones for a moment before the boy finally nodded and took the larger container. "We can make it work," Marcus heard the boy say. "We'll just eat less this week." Something in those words made Marcus pause, his hand halfway to a bottle of Gatorade. He'd grown up poor himself, remembered his own mother doing calculations in grocery stores, choosing between rent and food more times than he cared to count. But there was something different here, something in the way these kids carried themselves, a weight no child should have to bear. The children approached the counter with the milk clutched between them. The clerk, a gray-haired woman with reading glasses on a chain, smiled at them warmly. "Just this today, sweethearts?" The boy nodded and carefully placed a pile of coins on the counter. Quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. They clinked against each other as he spread them out. "We counted 3 times, ma'am. It should be enough." The woman began counting, her arthritic fingers moving slowly. Marcus found himself holding his breath. The other bikers had gone quiet too, all of them watching this scene unfold. "I'm coming up about 90 cents short, honey," the clerk said gently. The little girl's face crumpled, and Marcus saw her brother squeeze her hand. The boy straightened his shoulders, and when he spoke, his voice was clear despite the tremor in it. "Ma'am, please! Our baby sister needs milk. She's only 18 months old, and we ran out yesterday. We've been giving her water, but she cries because she's hungry." He paused, swallowing hard. "We can leave our names and address. We promise, we swear, we'll pay you back when we grow up. Every cent." The clerk's eyes filled with tears. "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" The girl spoke for the first time, her voice barely a whisper. "Gone. Car accident. 2 months ago. We live with our neighbor now, Mrs. Patterson," the boy added quickly. "She's real nice, but she's old and doesn't have much money. She watches our sister while we're at school. But yesterday the check from the state didn't come, and we used the last of the milk for her breakfast." Marcus felt something break open in his chest. Around him, he heard muttered curses. From his brothers, men who'd seen the worst of humanity and built armor to protect themselves from caring too much. But there's no armor strong enough to protect you from the sight of children taking care of children, of kids who'd lost everything trying to maintain their dignity while begging for basic necessities. Before the clerk could respond, Marcus stepped forward. The children turned, eyes widening at the sight of this massive man covered in leather and ink. For a second, Marcus saw fear flicker across their faces, and it hurt more than any punch he'd ever taken. "It's okay," he said softly, pulling out his wallet. "I've got this." The boy immediately shook his head. "No, sir. We can't take charity. Mama always said we should work for what we get or pay people back. We can write down our information." "Son." Marcus knelt down, bringing himself to eye level with the children. "Let me tell you something about your mama. She raised you right. She taught you about honor and responsibility and keeping your word. But she also would have wanted you to know that sometimes people help each other. That's not charity. That's just being human. The girl was crying now, and her brother's jaw was clenched tight, fighting his own tears. Marcus pulled out a $100 bill and placed it on the counter. This is for their milk and whatever else they need. Give them the change. Sir, the boy started. You want to pay me back? Marcus interrupted gently. Then I want you to promise me something. When you grow up, when you're doing well, and you see someone who needs help, really, needs it, you help them. You pay it forward. That's how you pay me back, deal? The boy stared at him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Behind Marcus, he heard sniffling. He glanced back to see Tommy Wrench Rodriguez, a former Marine who'd done 3 tours in Afghanistan, wiping his eyes with his bandana. Next to him, Jack Boomer Williams, who'd survived a IED blast that left him with a permanent limp, wasn't even trying to hide the tears running down his face. Wait here a minute, Marcus told the kids. He turned to his brothers. Empty your pockets. Without a word, every biker there pulled out their wallets. Bills started piling up on the counter. 20s, 50s, even a few hundreds. The clerk's hands shook as she counted. When they finished, there was over $2,000 sitting there. This is for their neighbor, Marcus told the clerk. For taking care of these kids. And for the kids themselves, for whatever they need. Can you make sure they get it? The woman nodded, unable to speak. The children stared at the money like they'd never seen that much cash in their lives. Which they probably hadn't. Thank you, the boy whispered. Then louder, thank you. We'll remember. We promise we'll help someone when we can. Marcus reached out and ruffled the boy's hair. I know you will, son. I know you will. Outside, in the brutal Arizona heat, 13 bikers stood in a circle, none of them speaking. These were men who'd been to prison, lost friends to violence, struggled with addiction, survived wars. But in that moment, they'd been reminded of something essential, that even in the darkest times, even when life strips away everything you have, the human spirit endures. That children who'd lost their parents could still stand tall and ask for help without losing their dignity. That promises matter, even ones made by kids who couldn't possibly understand when they'd be able to keep them. As they mounted their bikes, Marcus looked back through the store window. The kids were still there, the boy holding the milk carefully, while his sister clutched a grocery bag filled with supplies. The clerk must have helped them gather. They waved, and every single biker waved back. The ride to New Mexico continued, but something had changed. That night, at the motel where they stopped, Marcus made a phone call to their lawyer. By the end of the week, the Desert Riders had established a new charity fund specifically for orphaned children and their guardians. They called it the Pay It Forward Foundation. 3 months later, Marcus received a letter at the clubhouse. Inside was a hand-drawn picture of a motorcycle surrounded by hearts, and below it, in careful child's handwriting, "Thank you for helping us, Mrs. Patterson. Says we can stay with her forever, now, and she won't worry about money. Our sister is growing big and healthy. We put your picture on our wall so we remember every day to be kind like you. We will pay it forward. We promise. Forever and ever. Love, Danny and Sarah Mitchell." Marcus hung that picture in the clubhouse, right above the bar where everyone could see it. And every time someone asked about it, every curious visitor, every new club member, the bikers told the story. The story of 2 kids who taught 13 tough men that the most powerful thing in the world isn't strength or fearlessness, or the ability to endure pain. It's the courage to ask for help, the dignity to promise repayment even when you have nothing, and the fundamental belief that people, despite everything, are worth believing in. That's what made the bikers cry that day. Not sadness, but the overwhelming recognition of humanity at its finest, reflected in the eyes of 2 children who had every reason to give up but chose hope instead.